Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. Bienvenue. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Stephen Erdelyi, and I'm very proud to be the head of school of Solomon Schechter Academy. Tonight is a chance for you to ask some questions and for us to share some of our insight on what has been an unprecedented few weeks. It seems like just yesterday, although it was 3 weeks ago, we were celebrating Purim. We had the students together for a carnival to hear the Megillah reading. And on the following week and the following days, we had to really change the school completely from a traditional school to an online one. And I want to say it hasn't been easy, but we've worked very hard. And I want to say a special thank you to all the teachers, the assistants. I want to thank my admin team for working so hard to make it happen in a matter of days. Tonight, you'll have the opportunity to hear from some of our experts, to ask questions, and get a sense of how things will go for the next little while and what we can do to offer services to continue to support your family. You can use the chat box on YouTube to ask your questions. And I want to thank you again for coming, and we look forward to answering your questions. Merci, toda, thank you.
Good evening, bonsoir. Mon nom est Jennifer Benoualid, and I am the principal at Solomon Schechter. I am in charge of all pedagogy, academics, and professional development. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alexandra D'Arrisso. I am the Director of Student Services at Solomon Schechter Academy. I am also professionally trained as a child psychologist, and in my role at SSA, I oversee all of the social, emotional, and academic supports for our students. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Hi, everyone. My name is Randy Mendel. I'm the Director of Early Childhood Education at Solomon Schechter. I have the privilege of looking after the youngest children in our school, the junior pre-K, kindergarten children and staff and parents. And I welcome you all tonight, and I look forward to see what we have in store.
Hi, everybody. My name is Julie Schneider. I'm Assistant Head of School, and I oversee the marketing communications, the admissions, and the development of Solomon Schechter Academy. So tonight I'm going to act as moderator for our panel and encourage you to submit your questions via the chat function in YouTube. We have received quite a number of questions already, and we've been talking with parents, of course, throughout these last 2.5 weeks. So we'll start with some of the questions that we've received, and then as more come in, we'll be happy to answer them. So the first question I would like to address to Alex: what are some of your recommendations to parents who are helping their kids attend school online while they're also juggling working from home and taking care of their household?
Thank you, Julie. This is a question that we are getting a lot, as it is the reality of many families in our school. I would say first and foremost, just start to map out what a day looks like in your home and what your priorities are for your family. And then take a deep breath and know that you're not going to get to everything, and that that's okay. What is important in this time is that everyone is safe and feels secure, and that's what's important in your family. Another thing I would say, and I think it's really out there now, people are recommending to establish a routine. Now, this doesn't have to be so strict, but just getting the kids up in the morning and getting them out of their PJs, getting them to brush their teeth, have breakfast, can give them a sense of normalcy, a sense of rhythm, and can be really just comforting with that structure. So I definitely suggest that. For the working parents out there, I would also recommend just, when you're scheduling those activities for the kids, see those really high interest activities that they can do more autonomously or independently. Getting those in, you have your own Zoom meetings, so they're occupied. And then when you take breaks together, you can attend to their needs. Who needs a snack, who wants to play, who is having a conflict with their brother or sister. And I know we're just starting this. It's been a few weeks now, and families need to find their rhythm and know that not everything is going to get done, but to focus on the things that are working in your homes and in your families.
We'll speak more about what needs to get done and what doesn't need to get done a little bit later. I'd just like to build on what Alex has just said and discuss the new schedule that Solomon Schechter has proposed to parents this past weekend. Please remember, and I said it in my previous address, but I really mean it, it is optional. While a routine is important, it has to be a routine that works for you. So if the schedule that we've proposed works within your daily life, please go ahead and follow it. If it does not, you can follow it partially or not follow it at all. It's okay. There are no rules here. We're learning as we go. It's exactly like parenting.
Thank you both. Alex, I know you were talking earlier as well on the radio last week about how it can be challenging to have boundaries that are blurred a little bit in your house when you have home life and you have school life. So what are your recommendations on that?
Absolutely. I hear all the time parents feeling like they don't know when their workday starts, ends, when they're, supporting their kids with the schoolwork is an all-day affair. And so I would say, first and foremost, think about the physical space in your home and try to, as much as you can, designate areas where you're going to get your work done, where the children are going to go to learn, and then have other spaces in the home where you take breaks and make sure to move to those spaces to take those breaks or to have a snack or to play and to have family time. We're so connected digitally, which is amazing, but it can sometimes feel like even harder to disconnect. So for those kids and families that find that hard, even put a timer on and say, I'm not going to check my emails for 10 minutes and I'm just going to spend this time having a snack and playing with the kids before going back to work. The other thing I would say is place as much importance on activities that really foster self-care and family time and connecting with family as much as you do on work or school or learning. Those things are really important as well. And I think it's important to make physical space and mental space in your home for those things.
Thank you. Randy, what are your recommendations for parents of preschool age children? Oh, Randy, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. See, we're all learning. I think with the younger children, we just have to be mindful that they really shouldn't be spending an entire morning on a digital device. And the teachers have posted their activities on Seesaw to mimic a morning at school. And just like a morning at school, they wouldn't be sitting and working the whole morning. They would be doing circle time, and then they would move to play, and they would be having a story read to them and then having a snack. In between the lessons, it would be interspersed with play and movement, some fresh air. So we're just asking the parents to keep things, and through their play, they're learning on a day-to-day basis. So that's part of their life experience. So just moving them along and not keeping them in front of that screen a whole morning.
And I know, Randy, that children, both young and elementary school children, can learn a lot from informal teaching opportunities also.
Right, so through games and through play and that social emotional piece, I mean, that's where doing a little piece of Zoom for the younger children to connect them with their friends, their peers, their teachers, to make sure that they still feel like everybody is there for them. And, just being with their family and spending that special time as well. So.
Jennifer, how does being away from school impact our children's learning?
It does. It does. And what we've been doing, and this is what we've been working so hard to prepare, is a program that minimizes that impact. With the Zoom meetings, we are trying our hardest to recreate a regular classroom environment. It is not perfect, and students will not learn as well as if they were in a regular classroom. However, it is the absolute best substitute to classroom learning that we can offer right now. Whether students log on once a week or every day. What's important is that students stay connected to their learning, because this is not summer vacation where they can have a full break. This is March. We have another 5.5 months. Well, we're April 1st actually today. So another 5 months until we get back to school. If school does not reopen, we still don't know. It's uncertain right now. So it is crucial for our kids to stay connected, to work on self-regulation, to follow up on the learning habits that we've worked so hard to build with them throughout the school year. And we ask the parents to help us with that by helping us recreate this classroom environment. We've sent a code of conduct that we ask the parents to help with their children, because even though it's a virtual classroom, the classroom has to have rules, order, and respect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I know, Jennifer, that many parents of older students, they would like to know what the expectations are for completing and submitting work and homework. Sometimes parents can be a little bit overwhelmed, and the kids too, because the situation is very different now. Can you tell us a little bit about the expectations?
So I've said it before and I will repeat it. Everybody needs to make it work for them. The purpose of this is to keep our children connected to our school community. A school is not just a brick and mortar building, as Alex said last week on the radio. It is a micro society. It has recess and learning and good times and not so good times. However, what we want for our kids is to still feel connected to our community through this learning. So as far as the expectations, we hope that our kids are going to log on as much as possible. However, if they can't, it's okay. Like we said, every family has to make things work for them. We are currently working on a plan for when we get back to school to make sure that no child is left behind.
Thank you, Jennifer.
And
So
just
we have a couple of questions that we've received in our chat. So the first question will be from Mr. Shapiro. He would like to know, what is the plan for financial reimbursement for schooling, and will there be credits for next year? So maybe Stephen, if you can address that, that would be great.
thank you very much, Julie. This is a question that we've been thinking about quite a bit. The reality is, what we've been trying to do with Solomon Schechter the last few weeks is continue to offer educational services to all our students. We've tried and we've done an excellent job at continuing, whether it be in the preschool, whether it be in the kindergarten or grades 1 to 6. We're trying to do it. At the same time, we are understanding of the financial situation that is going on with our parents. And the goal is to find that perfect balance. Right now, what we are suggesting is for parents, if they do have financial difficulty, the best thing is to reach out to our finance office, and our goal is to try to find a way to help them and support them as much as possible. At the same time, we want to continue being able to educate children. And in order to do that, we need our staff, we need our teachers and our assistants. We've tried to go above and beyond with the assistants, for example, by offering one-on-one tutoring for students, because we want to make sure not just that they don't fall behind, but they have that connection. One of my favorite things about Solomon Schechter is walking through the hallways and seeing assistants working one-on-one with students, helping them catch up or excel, whether it be in English and French and Hebrew and math. And that's something we've tried to continue doing through online learning. So all that to say, it's something we're cognizant of. I don't have a perfect answer. We understand that these are difficult times for all our families. But right now, my recommendation is for families that have difficulties, the best thing would be to reach out to the finance department, reach out to either Jim Goyle, our Director of Finance and Operations, or Fee Flores, our office manager, and we're going to do our best to find something that can work for you and your family.
Thank you, Stephen. We have a question about whether parents who are having difficulty keeping their children engaged with online learning, what should they do? Jennifer?
Try not to stress too much about it. You know, learning is like exercise. You'll have excellent days, you'll have good days, and you'll have bad days. And it's okay to follow your child's rhythm. If a child is encouraged to work at his or her own rhythm, it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and they will get engaged more and want to learn more. A lot of children are really enjoying our live classes because they get to see their friends and they get to see their teachers and interact in a way that they haven't had a chance to for a while already. But again, I cannot say this enough. Make this work for you.
The same thing goes as Jennifer was saying in the main campus, is in the preschool and the kindergarten, that the children have to be enjoying it. And I think right now the Zoom classes, it's quite engaging for them because they get to see friendly faces. And also for the lessons that are posted on Seesaw, if somebody is being a little resistant, find the things that are making them happy. If it's the music, the song, movement, try and just do what's making the children happy and, you know, keeping them busy, but forcing them would not be our recommendation. You know, we're all going to get to the next stage together, and just take it one day at a time.
Thank you, Randy. We have a question that's coming in the chat from Elise. Given that it now looks as though the situation may not normalize until July, has any thought been given to grade 6 graduation? So I know that this is something that we've discussed, and right now we're planning to come back to school May 4th. We hope, but we are also preparing in case the school building is closed for longer. Stephen, can you please address this?
Thank you, Julie. As you mentioned, the goal right now is to return to school on May 4th. We are preparing for all contingencies, and one of those is that it could go longer into the summer. That being said, we're looking at different scenarios for graduation. One of the things I've been doing over the last few weeks is different conference calls with both the Jewish day schools in Montreal and also with the CASE schools, the Canadian Accredited Independent Schools, of which we're a part. And this is one of the topics that's come up on both of these calls and both the different networks. So one of the options we've looked at is to do a graduation ceremony in the fall, worst case scenario. So again, if the school is closed until the summer, we would find a date in the fall of 2020, and we'd have the students all come in for a graduation ceremony at that time. So that is one of the options, and we're looking at a few other scenarios. But rest assured, it is something we are cognizant of. We want to make sure that the students, our grade 6 students, especially, you know, we have students who've been with us for 9 years. We want to make sure that they have a send-off and are able to celebrate with all their peers, and we hope to be able to do that very soon.
Thank you, Stephen. I know we've also discussed regarding the ministry exams and when school might start again. Could you please address that?
So just to share for the ministry exams, so these are the exams that apply to students in grade 4 and grade 6. Right now, the government has said there'll be no ministry exams for this year. And from what we're seeing, there'll be the report cards, if I can add to that as well. The report cards for end of year will be based on the first and second term. So that's how it'll be evaluated. So for our students, it's not, if I can say this, it's not a big deal. It is more of an issue, I know, for the high schools. I know each high school is dealing with it, but for the elementary school, the grade 4 and 6 exams for this year will be canceled.
Thank you. Stephen, we also have a question similar to this from Ben Rodier. Will school be extended through summer to make up what was missed?
It's a good question as well. So right now, the communication from the ministry is that school will not be extended into July or August. So in other words, the latest, if there is an extension, it could be a few days at the end of June. So, but either way, school would end either at Saint Jean-Baptiste Day, or it would go at the latest to Canada Day, to July 1st, although not school on Canada Day, so to the end of June. So there will be no school in the summer, no school in July and August. That has been confirmed by the government.
Thank you. I see a comment also from Tracy that everyone is doing a great job. Be well. Thank you, Tracy. We wish you and your family well as well. And another question coming in from Elise. Will the high school preparedness program that you had instituted be part of online learning?
Absolutely. The last 3 weeks, we've been focused on getting, like Stephen said, on switching from a traditional school to an online school. Now that that has been taken care of and that things are going more smoothly, we will be focusing on all of our other programs. And by that, I mean that we'll be looking at pedagogical differentiation and how to do it. Some teachers have already started by using the breakout rooms in Zoom to work in smaller groups and to differentiate. We'll be looking at enrichment, and I will not let my grade 6 students down. This is my pet project, and I will make sure that they are ready for high school. And I actually look forward to teaching on Zoom as well. So yes, we will be going on with it.
Thank you. Jennifer, we have another question for you coming in from Stephen Rabinovich. This was a great idea and well executed. Thank you, Stephen. Stephen wants to know, how are the teachers doing? We forget that many of them have children at home as well, and they're also trying to teach, and that can't be easy.
Thank you so much for asking this question. We're at the front lines really by being here tonight and answering your questions, but our real success is due to our teachers. These amazing men and women, and by teachers I include assistants as well, have been working 16-hour days, have had to turn their whole trade around in a matter of weeks to adapt to this new reality. It's never happened in the history of any profession that people have had to do that. And I salute them. They have my utmost respect, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart on behalf of the school and on behalf of our children.
Thank you, Jennifer. We all extend a big thank you to our teachers and our teaching assistants and really everyone on the team, student services. Everyone has been working so hard because they love our children. They love your children, and they want them to be connected to school. They want them to see their peers. They want them to have a normal routine. And I know it's been so important, even while they're also working at home and have children at home, and everybody is, dealing with this new reality. So I really extend my appreciation as well. Jennifer, are there other resources to help children outside of the teacher's work that they're providing?
So we have two very, very important resources at SSA that we've had during the regular school year and that we continue to have here. We have assistants working one-on-one with students, and this is available to any student at SSA. We are offering half-hour blocks per assistant per day because there are assistants in every language, and any parent is allowed booking half an hour of one-on-one time via Zoom, so that the assistants could help support the children's learning. In addition, we have an incredible student services team, and I forgot to thank them on my previous comments, so please let me take the time to thank these amazing women who are also working those 16-hour days to help support our students. So thank you again. There are amazing resources that student services have put in place for all of our students. And I think that Alex will do a better job of explaining them than myself, but yes, we do. Please go ahead, Alex.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think we are truly blessed. We have an amazing team of professionals, of resource teachers that have gone above and beyond. We are reaching out to families, to children. We are offering one-on-one support, counseling, support to families. We are there for our teachers as well. And our resource department is working really hard in their STEP classes and providing material to students in their regular classes under resource, so that they can reinforce those really important foundational skills. And another thing, if you haven't seen it yet, in the phys ed, science, and SMART class that all the grade levels we have a body break space. So that is manned by student services as well. And we are posting activities online to really encourage mindfulness, calming relaxation techniques, which I think are so important now. So if you haven't checked it out yet, please do. And if you are a family that hasn't been involved with student services, our virtual doors are always open to you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We are here to support you. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. What do you recommend for a child who's experiencing high levels of anxiety? How do we reassure them when we as adults are anxious ourselves?
Great question. I think children look to their parents. They take their lead, and obviously parents are also feeling anxious during this time. I think they need an outlet to express that. So whether it's with their partners, whether it's with friends or a mental health professional, to work through that anxiety so that when they are talking to their kids, they can be reassuring, use a calming tone, give information because it's out there and the kids know. So give the facts without too much detail. You know, I would stay away from looking online at the news constantly and trying to shelter them a little bit from the constant news stream, but to give them basic information and to reassure them that they're home, they are safe. The adults in their lives are taking care of this. We are all doing the right thing together, and we're going to get through this together as a team. Children who are experiencing, higher levels of anxiety, there are a lot of resources online, through my department, the Body Break Space, and just online everywhere about relaxation techniques, getting them to sleep a little bit easier. And if you are concerned as a parent that it's really significant, please, again, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We have fabulous psychologists and social workers on staff that are ready to help out.
So it looks, I would say similar thing for the preschool and kindergarten children is to make sure that, there's not too much television on and that they're hearing too much about the news. For the children, they don't really understand what's going on, but what they do know is that everybody is home. And this is really a good opportunity now to make some special memories, sitting down and playing games. We have time with our children that we generally don't have. So really take advantage. You can stay close to home and go for a little walk, play games, cook together, spend family dinners together. These children are going to have memories of this that don't have to be negative, and let's try and turn it around and keep it a positive.
I'd like to add to what Randy said. We always tend to live in a grown-up world with grown-up worries. And this is our chance to actually enter our children's worlds and enter their lives, do things that they like to do. I did my first TikTok yesterday with my daughters. They had more fun than I did making fun of their mother. But the point is, I would have never had time to do that had I not been at home with them. Let's get to see the world through their eyes. Let's get to understand their reality with all of the social media, which is is a stranger to us most of the time. That way we can turn this situation in an opportunity to get to know our children, to get closer to our children, and better understand our children.
Thank you. We've received a few other comments in the chat I'd like to share. Thank you to the assistants. Giving one-on-one is amazing, and student services. From Elise, I have never felt that my tuition dollars were better spent than over the last few weeks. Thank you so much, Elise. We really appreciate it. We are working very hard to make this amazing for all of the children involved and all of the families as best we can under these unprecedented circumstances. I want to address a question from Stephen Rabin. He's asking about extracurricular activities, if the kids were signed up for them, if those would be reimbursed. And we also have a comment, somebody from Hampstead, if you can pay, please do extracurricular as well. we have to continue to make the money to be able to offer the services, and that's true as well. But I'll refer it to Stephen to answer regarding extracurricular activities.
So thank you, Julie. So first, I just want to add as well, the last few weeks, I can tell you personally, it's been, among the toughest weeks in my career in any school at any time. And I know that the hours are crazy, and I can imagine for those parents as well who are working from home, it's much harder than I ever imagined, because there's no beginning and no end. At least when you go to work, you arrive at a certain time and you leave at a certain time. When you're working from home, it's hard to kind of find that line. And I know that's the same issue many of our teachers are having. And I see the emails and messages going back and forth. I'm on many of the Google Classrooms. So I've seen in the last 2-3 weeks about 6,000 messages going back and forth through Google Classroom at all hours of the day. And our teachers are responding whenever they can to parents. So it's not a simple thing. And they are really working very hard. To answer your question, Julie, with regard to extracurricular activities, the plan right now is either to credit those parents. So if you paid for an extracurricular activity that would have started in, let's say in February, it would have started in February, March. So either you'll be credited or you'll be given a refund. Right now, we don't have access to the building because it's closed right now. So we cannot do that at this time, but we'll take care of that as soon as we're back. So again, either it'll be a credit towards an activity in the new school year, or you'll get a refund, and that will finalize as soon as we return to school.
Thank you. Randy, we have a question for you from Bernstein. Is it possible to have the preschool kids also have some Zoom meetings set up for French, Hebrew, music, as opposed to just watching the pre-recorded seesaw videos with their regular teachers?
I think anything is possible. So that's certainly something that I can look into. It is the same teacher within the preschool, so would have to figure out some way of making sure that they could get into, but certainly something I can look forward to planning. I think at this point until Passover, it's just a week away, we're going to let our teachers figure out what types of groups work best. And then coming back from Passover, we can certainly interject some of the languages within. Great idea. Thanks for the suggestion.
Alex, we have another question that came in via email. What long-term effects do we anticipate the children to have as a result of this pandemic?
That's an interesting one, and one that is really difficult to predict. I would say that it will depend on the child and their circumstances and situation. What I will say is that children are a lot more resilient than we often give them credit for. And I know that, for instance, I remember growing up during the ice storm, and I know that adults and parents everywhere were incredibly anxious and stressed. And yet some of my, most fondest memories were just having dinner by a fire during the ice storm. So my hope is that these children who are in their homes with their families, playing, continuing to learn, will be okay. It will be an adjustment, certainly, and we expect that when things kind of come back to normal and we go back to school, that they're going to want to talk about it. They're maybe going to feel worried about going out and seeing groups of people, and we'll be there to support them and to reassure them that life goes back to normal. And like I said, I anticipate that it will be dependent on the child, but that we will be there to help them through it. And they're incredible at adapting to challenges that they face, and they are so resilient. So that's what we're expecting to see.
Jennifer, we have a question from a parent. How do I know if my child will be prepared for next year?
I'm glad you asked that question. Yesterday, I attended a webinar and Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs said something that really resonated with me. He said that faith is the courage to live with uncertainty. And as parents, you have faith in us. You have shown the greatest faith by trusting us with your most precious possession, which is your children. You show faith in us every day when you drop off your child at school. You show faith in us by helping your child log on to the Zoom class. And you are showing faith in us by trusting that your child will succeed in their education. Whether we go back May 4th or in September, we will have a plan in place to make sure that every child, whether they logged on to Zoom every day or not, whether they did the assignments or not, will be ready to start the next school year. Thank you for trusting us.
Thank you, Jennifer. We have a couple other questions. One suggestion from Adam Bolts. Hi, Adam. He's suggesting to organize some online social activities so the kids can see each other outside of structured class time. So I'll address that, Adam. We've instituted a new recess this week for the grades 1 to 6 students so that they can get a chance to see each other. I also know that a lot of families are arranging different social times for their kids and their friends, virtual play dates, whether it's through Zoom or FaceTime or house party. So I know a lot of parents are doing that on their own. If this is something that, that you are interested for the school to do more of, this is definitely something that we can look at for after Passover time. I think it's a very interesting suggestion. Now I have another question from Mr. Pollock. Is it possible to have all work that needs to be printed posted at the beginning of the week instead of daily postings in each subject at many different times throughout the day? Jennifer, would you be able to address that?
Thank you. So we have asked teachers to post the work that should be printed or that parents would like to be printed 24 hours in advance. It's very difficult for teachers to post everything a week ahead of time. As I explained before, these are teachers working 16 hours a week, learning how to use new programs. They have their own children at home as well. They have their own families to care for, their own parents to worry about, Passover that is coming, and we have to be cognizant of that and respectful of that. So if they are able to, I'm sure that they will. However, and I want to make this clear, if you do not have a printer or are unable to print worksheets or materials, things will be arranged so that the students could either write on a piece of paper or write in a notebook, or the teacher will share the Word version of this document online. So there will always be an option if you are unable to print.
We have a few questions. I'll send these to Stephen. Are the kids going to be getting work to complete over Passover? And will you be able to provide work for over Passover?
So with regard to Passover, so there'll be no online learning during the Passover break. So we're going to continue to follow the regular school calendar for the rest of the school year. You know, what we haven't, to be honest, we haven't discussed the specifics, but my feeling is, my recommendation would be for the teachers, if they are going to assign homework over Passover, it would be more homework in reading. I think it's nice for the students, and this is my advice to the students during winter vacation, and they hear it from me every time for winter break or spring break or summer vacation. I tell them every time, the number one thing I want them to do over the break is to read. And I think that's something that teachers will definitely be asking the students to do, is to read, whether it be in English, in French, or in Hebrew. And just if I can add one more point to the previous question, one other thing we are looking into is lending out some laptops as well to parents. We're aware that when we did the shift to more Zoom or more live, as opposed to a mix, more of a mix between live and pre-recorded video, it's harder for some families, especially those that have 2 or 3 children. So it's something we're looking to individually with some families, but if you are in that specific case, please reach out to myself or Jennifer. I should say we only have a limited number because we lent them out. We lent out many of our laptops and portable devices to our teachers because we wanted to make sure they had the technology they needed, and to the assistants. But if that is something you need, please feel free to contact myself or Jennifer, and we'll do our best to help you.
Thank you, Stephen. Stephen, some parents have asked us if they can come to school to pick up their child's belongings from their lockers, from their desk, especially if this could go on a while. Can you please address that?
It's a good question. So the original directive we got on March 16th or March 15th from the Ministry of Education was that all buildings were shut down for the 2-week period, for the initial 2-week period. After that, when the closure was extended beyond those initial 2 weeks, the government sent a new clarification that they deferred basically to santé publique or to public health. And what the public health department decided or announced was that for schools in Montreal and in the Eastern Townships, the schools would be closed to parents. But for schools outside these areas, parents could be allowed, given if a schedule could be created where there was social distancing and so on, where parents could come and collect some belongings. But right now, because we are on the island of Montreal, and again, it applies to Montreal and the Eastern Townships, schools are closed both to parents and to teachers as well, because I know we've had many of our teachers that didn't have material. Before the closure, I asked the teachers to take home material for a few weeks, which is what I'd hoped at the time would be the length of the closure. So I know it's something that our teachers are struggling with. I know parents are as well. But we'll keep we're continuing to communicate with the ministry. We get information from the government every day or two. And as soon as there is any change or any opening of this policy, we will share with parents, and we'll set up, when the government allows, set up a schedule for parents to come pick up material that they may need. I guess just the last point for now, the only exception we've been given from the ministry, from both the Ministry of Education and Santé Publique or Public Health, is if a child has a medical device. So for example, if a child left a puffer or an EpiPen or something like that that they need, that is the only exception that we've been given right now to allow for parents to retrieve items from the school. Thank you.
Stephen, can you also add for us what the school has done to prepare the building for the children's return?
Yeah, so we've been closed. The only one I should say who's been in the building occasionally, at least, well, at the beginning every day, and now he's keeping an eye on the building, is Mateo and his team. So what they've been doing since the students and since the staff have left is doing a tremendous deep cleaning of the school, not just the classrooms, not just the floors and the walls, but every computer, every keyboard, every light switch, every railing, those high traffic areas, every bathroom, really doing a deep cleaning so that the school is ready. Assuming we go back to school on May 4th, or if it's later, the school is clean and ready for all the students to return whenever that time may be.
Alex, what would you recommend to parents whose kids have trouble sitting still during the Zoom questions, during the Zoom classes, or who are having trouble with too much screen time? What kinds of recommendations can you give them?
So for the children not being able to sit still, I would say, just like we do in classes, we don't force them to sit. We actually allow them to stand or be around their desk as long as they are listening to the teacher and completing the work. So I know for a lot of teachers who are hosting the Zoom classes, they're asking that the cameras be turned on, that we can see children's faces, that they're not, obscured in any way. But if they are standing, that's okay. If you have kids that really want to stand the entire time, just pop that laptop on an ironing board, and you have a standing desk. So I would say we don't want them, being forced to sit necessarily, unless that's the way they are able to concentrate the most and get the work done. And of course, there are concerns about the amount of screen times that kids are getting these days. I think we can safely say and accept that it's going to be more than we would typically expect or recommend that they get, but that there is a balance, and making sure that they are going away from screens. So leaving areas like where, they're going to take their break and they're going to play and it's not going to be on a screen is important. Getting them outside in the backyard, getting them in the kitchen, baking with you, that kind of thing. is important to break up that screen time. And, just a tip for parents, if kids are more autonomous on screens and, you want to give them that, half an hour of video game, but while you are trying to have a Zoom meet of your own and, they'll be quiet. I think you can use it to, to our advantage too.
Randy, what about for children in the preschool? How do parents prioritize what they should be watching on screens between online learning and all of the amazing activities that are out there for kids today? There's a lot of exercise classes and story time, and of course what we're teaching as well. So how do they prioritize and what the kids are going to concentrate on?
I think that parents really have to just find a happy balance. I would say that, probably sitting in front of them and just being static and playing games is probably not to their advantage. But if the children are really engaged or moving, so I would say any of those movement videos, Exercise has a great one. There's been some wonderful museum things that are educational and keeping it at least academic or fun. I would avoid this sitting for prolonged periods of times and just interspersing it with those exercise and movement and, really picking and choosing carefully what they're sitting with and trying to minimize the extra screen time. I don't think that they need extra screen time at this, especially for the younger children, the older children as well, but they're going to be sitting with their teachers and learning. The other thing that I can say is during classroom time is to just try and set your children up for success. So getting them dressed, just like was said for the main campus, having them eaten, or, having already had their breakfast, sitting and even standing, it just trying not to disturb and disrupt the class while there's an online Zoom going on, because some of the children are very excited and stimulated. I know that some teachers have even reached out to families where the children are having a hard time to say that if this is not working for them, they can do small group or one-on-one. So there's different ways of adapting what's going on.
I'd like to add to what Randy and Alex were saying as far as replicating a classroom environment as much as possible and encouraging our students to be more independent. Firstly, I'd like to encourage parents to help students set up and go on Zoom, absolutely. But once that they are on Zoom, to please let the students work on their own. Parents are not in the regular classrooms usually, and again, in order to replicate that classroom environment, it is better for all of the students and for the environment and the dynamic that no adults be present, aside from the teacher and the assistant. In addition, keep them moving. So if a child in the middle of class needs to stand, like Alex said, it's absolutely okay. This is not what I was referring to when I was talking about classroom etiquette. I was talking about muting your mic, being polite, having your camera turned on, listening to instruction, etc. Our students are allowed to move around when they need to in the classroom, and this should be the case at home. I would also like to discuss the 15-minute breaks in between the periods. Those children will be tempted to stay on Zoom and talk to their friends informally during that time. I would encourage the children to not do that and to get up and move during those 15 minutes. Get a snack, go upstairs, go downstairs, do different things so that they are not static and not in front of a screen for more than 45 minutes at a time. And again, encourage you to use the recess that we have planned for by grade level in the afternoon.
Thank you. We have another comment from Public Hampstead. If you want to let us know who you are, that would be great. He says, or she says, the kids should also be encouraged to call their friends and keep a connection that way. We all say, yes, call your friends. It is a good skill for kids to learn, and it's a skill that's getting lost as we move into texting and chatting. So I would encourage kids, I agree with you, call their friends, have that social time, even when you think your kid is okay, your child doesn't really need it, or they're not asking to call their friends. it's a great idea to encourage them and say, let's make some time together to call our friends. They may need that social time more than they can express that to you. And also to encourage them to call other family members, especially grandparents, other aunts and uncles or cousins. It's a great chance to, you know, with everything going on, it's a great chance to connect with loved ones and let them hear their voices and put a smile on somebody's face. So it's definitely a good learning tool for the kids, and also a nice chance to feel good and connect with a loved one. So I would say definitely thank you for the suggestion. Call friends, call family, keep in touch. It's an important part of for the children and for the family of bonding and not being, you know, we talk about social distancing. Really what we mean is physical distancing. We don't want them to become socially distant. So I think it's a really good point. Stephen, we have a question for you from Tracy. Some of the SSA staff have been laid off. How can we support them emotionally? Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, thank you. This has been a very tough decision with what we see coming in terms of the financial situation. We've had to make a very difficult decision to lay off some members of the staff. Now, these are staff members that don't directly work with the children, at least not now during online learning. So for example, the lunch monitors who are there during the school year, but with online learning, there's not necessarily a role for them. But we're doing our best to support them as much as we can. We hope, of course, that the layoff will be temporary and that we'll be back in school on May 4th. That is our hope. But obviously at this point, we don't know exactly how long, because we're subject to the Ministry of Education and Quebec government guidelines. So all that to say, we're continuing to reach out to them and do our best and make sure that they are supported to get the government benefits that they're eligible for, and whatever other benefits we can find for them, we're going to do our best to help and support them. They are and continue to be part of our Solomon Schechter family, and we hope to have them back with us very soon.
Thank you, Stephen. We have some questions regarding work over Passover for Jennifer. Tracy asks for extra worksheets for Passover break would be great. Lauren Wise says, can I suggest that the English and French teachers assign specific reading lists for Passover that the kids can choose things to read from, followed by a questionnaire? Jennifer, can you please address this?
Sure. Thank you for asking. So the difficulty with Passover, the way it falls this year, is that it falls on a Wednesday night, leaving only 2 days of Chol HaMoed, so 2 days where you're actually able to write. And it is SSA policy not to assign any work or homework over Jewish holidays or Shabbat. So some students will not be able to do any kind of written work. As far as reading goes, reading is always an excellent idea. I believe that we can come up with a suggested reading list. We cannot assign reading because of the fact that some students do not have certain books or certain materials. And even if they were to order it on Amazon, I think with Prime right now, the suggested date is April 28th. So hopefully we'll almost be back in school by then. So the reality is it is very difficult to assign any reading. We can suggest some books, absolutely. It would be our pleasure. But every family has books at home. Pull them out. Put them in front of your children. Some of them will only look at the pictures and pretend, others will pretend that they're reading, but it's okay. When the best thing parents can do is model reading. If children see their parents reading, they will end up being readers. So please encourage your children to read. And I'd like to give another assignment, which is an assignment that I gave over December break. Stephen asked the students to read over December break. I asked students to continue working on their kindness and their inclusion, and to at least perform one act of kindness per day, whether it's putting your cereal bowl in the sink, or saying hello, or giving a sibling a hug, or sharing a toy. Anything to continue reinforcing our theme at SSA this year, which is kindness and inclusion. Think of calling your friends. That was an excellent suggestion. If you're planning a meet on Zoom or Hangouts or whatever it is that you do, please make sure to be inclusive and invite everybody. think of that kid who's not always included and make sure that you include him. This is how we continue being kind.
Thank you. We have a comment from Stacy. Wonderful evening. So proud to be part of SSA team. Hi, Stacy. We miss you. We hope you're well. I'm going to ask Alex one more question, and then we're going to wrap up the evening. So if any parents who are watching have any last questions, feel free to ask them now before we wrap up. So Alex, share with us a little bit what you predict and what you, how we can help our kids after this does get back to normal, because it will get back to normal eventually. We don't know if it'll be May or June just yet, or sometime later this year, but we all are praying for a speedy end to this pandemic. So once we get back to regular routines, regular home life, regular school life, how do you anticipate this will look for children, and what can we do to support them?
So I think it's going to be kind of funny for all of us to go back to our regular routines. I was just thinking the other day that huge distance between people and people will be shaking my hand, and I think I'm going to have a pause, at least for a little bit. And I think that's going to be the same case with our kids. One thing I think is when they come back to school, we might see a little bit of separation anxiety from kids who have been home with their parents, with their siblings, day in and day out, and leaving that comfort, leaving that nest and back to school, as much as they'll be excited to see their friends and their teachers, might produce a little bit of anxiety. So we will be there. We will prepared for them with open arms. And I know that the minute they walk back into our school, they're just going to be so happy and relieved to be there with all of us, as we will be for them. So I do think it's going to be an adjustment for all of us, but like for kids are incredibly resilient, and we can't forget that. And you know, this too shall pass. They will adapt, and we will be there to support them. Thank you.
So I see a nice note from Elise. Thank you. And I just want to take a moment myself to thank all the parents and staff and everybody for your support. We all are going through this together, really everyone around the world, and it's challenging and it's a new challenge. And I think we're all going to come out better because of it. And we need to be there for one another and support our school and support our parents and our children and their learning, and our teachers, our wonderful teachers, and everybody in the team. So I just want to take a moment personally to thank everybody involved and know that we will get through this together.
And if I can add as well, I want to say a special thank you to a few people. It's been a busy time over the last few weeks. I want to say a special thank you to some of the parents who've been involved. We have our parents on the medical advisory committee who've been advising us from the beginning, letting us know about protocols and how to begin and how to deal with this situation. We've had parents on the risk and safety committee and the chair of the risk and safety who've advised us as well. The IT committee, when we were first starting this, some of the IT committee members on their own volunteered to help us deal with the tech issues. I want to thank all the parents. I know you have been open and accepting and taking this on as a challenge as well to work with your children. I want to thank the executive and the president of the board, Helene Bussière, who's been talking to me almost every day, giving me advice, and we really appreciate that, and the executive and the whole board of trustees. I want to thank again, as Julie mentioned, our teachers, our assistants, our student services department, the office staff. I want to thank my admin team. Every day we meet, we have our regular check-in. We're constantly checking in on the staff members on each of our departments, making sure everything is running smoothly, and they've gone above and beyond. And I'm truly lucky to be part of what we call our dream team. And finally, I want to thank the students. For you, the students, and I know it's late, so probably most of the students are sleeping, but maybe some of you will watch this later on YouTube. I know that it's been new for you. I know that we've each had a little taste of online learning in the past, but basically you're getting a crash course right now, and you've excelled. and you all get an A on how far and you've come in just a matter of a few days. And we are truly proud of you, our students. And we hope to see you soon. I hope to be able to give you a high five and shake your hand and be able to share a story or anecdote. And we all hope to see you very soon. So thank you again. Good night. Chag Sameach. Merci beaucoup. Tada.